The piercing shriek that ripped through my Saturday morning wasn't some kid playing with fireworks or a neighbor's dog losing its mind. It was the sound of Patricia Harmon, our self-appointed queen of Granite Hills Estates, standing at the foot of my driveway, waving her clipboard like a sword and yelling, "Your truck violates every single rule we have." There I was in my bathrobe, holding my coffee like a shield, staring at Patricia, who looked ready to throw down at 7 a.m., over my Ford F-350, just sitting there minding its own business, apparently guilty of being too big, too black, and too much truck for her delicate HOA sensibilities. Let me tell you, if I'd known then what that one truck was about to set off, I might have just sold it and headed to Alaska, or bought a houseboat or something, anything but stick around for what would go down as the most epic HOA meltdown this side of the county line. But then again, you stick around for a reason, right? What happened next was so wild, it made the local news legal threats, police, a quarry blockade, and Patricia's total implosion that cost her everything she ever used to hold over us. So yeah, my name's Jake Sullivan. I build things for a living, custom stonework, the kind of stuff you see in magazines. I moved here 2 years ago because prices were decent, and honestly, the Colton Quarry is right nearby. Makes my job a heck of a lot easier. The place seemed like a dream, manicured lawns, quiet streets, folks waving as you drive by. What the real estate agent forgot to mention was that the HOA was basically Patricia's little fiefdom. 6 years she'd been president, 6 years of measuring grass with a ruler, handing out fines for bird feeders that weren't the approved shade of brown, and even trying to ban kids from playing outside during her daily meditation. Dictators got nothing on Patricia. But my truck, man, that was the spark. It started small with those notes tucked under my windshield, all fake friendly. "Dear neighbor, we've noticed your commercial vehicle may not comply." You know that tone. I ignored them at first. Then came the official letters, each one nastier than the last quoting rules that didn't even exist. I double-checked the bylaws before I bought my place. Commercial trucks, as long as they're in the driveway and in good shape, are totally legal. But Patricia decided my truck was an eyesore, and that was that. After the confrontation, she kicked things up about 10 notches. Suddenly, she was snapping photos of my truck from every angle, measuring the distance to the sidewalk, timing how long the engine idled. She had a little posse, 3 women in yoga pants who trailed her around, whispering loud enough for me to hear, pointing like my F-350 was a UFO or something. It got to where I'd expect them out there every morning, arms folded, glaring at me over their smoothies. Then came the granite delivery. I had a big job, needed a load of stone dropped off. The delivery truck parked in front of my house for maybe half an hour tops. 5 minutes in, Patricia materialized, shrieking about illegal business activities in a residential zone. I explained calmly that it was just a delivery, like when folks get a fridge or something. Didn't matter. She called 911. The cop who showed up looked so tired he could have used a nap in the back of his cruiser. "Let me guess, Patricia Harmon," he sighed. Turns out she'd called so many times they had a whole protocol for her. After talking to me, he actually warned Patricia about abusing emergency services. That should have been it, but Patricia was just getting started. She called an emergency HOA meeting that night just about the truck. I sat in the back while she put on a 45-minute PowerPoint called "Commercial Vehicles, the Gateway to Neighborhood Decline." She'd even snapped photos from inside my yard. When she finished, I asked Patricia, "You do realize it's illegal to trespass on private property to take pictures, but not to park a truck in your own driveway, right?" You could hear a pin drop. Her face went from red to purple so fast I thought she might pass out. She screamed that she was protecting property values. But the doubt was creeping into the room. Now let me back up a sec. I'd been documenting everything for weeks, and a buddy of mine, David, who's a lawyer, was feeding me advice. He told me to let Patricia dig her own grave, and wow, did she ever. I stood up and said, "Let's table this until you can show us the exact bylaw my truck breaks." The board looked rattled. No one wanted to cross Patricia, but the meeting ended with no decision. She stormed out hissing, "This isn't over, Mr. Sullivan, not by a long shot." She was right. The next move was straight out of a bad spy movie. She recruited a neighbor kid to fly a drone over my house looking for violations. When I caught it hovering outside my bedroom window, I didn't yell. I called the FAA, and the cops' drone. Harassment is a real thing, turns out. I also started showing up to every HOA meeting quiet, taking notes. I found out Patricia was using HOA funds for personal projects. A $40,000 meditation garden, only she could use her nephew's landscaping company, charging triple for mowing the common area. As more neighbors started quietly telling me their own Patricia horror stories, things came to a head with what we now call the Quarry incident. I had permission from the owner, Bill Morrison, to pick up stone for a job. There's a shared access road used for decades, but Patricia got wind of it and parked her Lexus right across the path, arms crossed, neon HOA vest on, blocking me like some kind of troll guarding a bridge. "You're not using our roads for your business," she yelled. I called Bill. He showed up fast, took one look and laughed so hard I thought he might pull something. "Patricia, that's a public easement. You're the one breaking the law." She started sputtering about protecting the neighborhood, but Bill threatened to call the sheriff and get her car towed. She backed down, but not before threatening to have my business license revoked. It would have been funny if she wasn't so serious. That night, Patricia sent a mass email accusing me of threatening her at the quarry, painting herself as the victim. Big mistake. I sent the email along with all my documentation to David. He just grinned. She just lied to 200 people in writing. This is gold. I filed a formal complaint: harassment, trespassing, misuse of 911, drone stalking, false imprisonment, and now written defamation. Oh, and the embezzlement stuff I'd found. The board called a special meeting for the next week. Word spread fast, and the night of the community center was packed. Patricia strutted in, still convinced she was untouchable, flanked by her 3 loyal disciples. She had another slideshow ready, this one about defending our neighborhood. But people were over it. As soon as she started, I stood up. "Point of order, we're here to address formal complaints against the president, not another lecture about my truck." The treasurer, Robert, nodded. "Jake's right. We need to talk about these allegations." And then it was like the floodgates opened. Neighbor after neighbor stood up. Maria Santos fined $300 because her kid's bike was the wrong shade of pink. Tom Bradley threatened over his living room curtains. Ellen Washington showing receipts for the meditation garden. Patricia's answers just got wilder. She accused us all of being part of some big conspiracy, even suggested the quarry was a front for organized crime. Her 3 friends slid their chairs away. The board called for a vote, no confidence. It was unanimous. Patricia was out, right then and there. And then Robert dropped the bomb: "You've misused about $60,000 in HOA funds. We'll be pursuing criminal charges." Patricia started yelling, "You can't do this. I built this community," but the room had already moved on. It wasn't just HOA consequences. David filed a civil suit for harassment and defamation. Just the drone part was worth big damages. Patricia's lawyer took one look at the evidence and told her to settle. She ended up owing me $75,000. Then the district attorney got involved: misuse of funds, embezzlement. Local news picked it up: HOA president's reign of terror ends in criminal charges. Patricia's day job at a local bank found out and did their own audit. Turned out she'd been pulling the same stuff there and got fired on the spot. Her sentencing was 6 months later, Patricia looking like a deflated balloon standing in front of the judge. Gone was the suburban queen. Her lawyer did all the talking because she couldn't trust herself not to break down. The judge was cold. "You abused your position to harass and steal from your neighbors. You've shown no remorse." He gave her 3 years in prison, 5 years probation, and full restitution. When the bailiff cuffed her and let her out, she was crying so hard her own friends couldn't look her in the eye. She just kept repeating 3 years, 3 years, like maybe she'd wake up from the nightmare. Funny thing is, after she was gone, Granite Hills Estates felt lighter, like somebody had finally opened a window. But it left us all asking, where's the line between order and overreach? What's the right way to run a community, and who gets to decide? So let's hear it. Drop your take below. Was Patricia a monster or just a control freak who finally pushed too far? Where's justice, and who's next to cross that line in your neighborhood?